This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And Dave is at work, so he is not going to be joining us for this one.
Today?
I don't know. He didn't text us.
No, I'm just shocked.
I mean, we were bad, hosts, podcast buds. We didn't text him, but I don't think he did.
No, I don't think he has a day off.
Dave, if he had a day off, whoops. Our bad. Also, I'm not making a political statement with this t-shirt. It was free, and it's laundry day. So if you're, upset that I'm a liberal man, then whatever. Just it's a shirt. Don't worry about it. But we're talking about DeMarcus Cousins going to the Warriors. I think people are more upset about this one. Just a quick segment talking about 30 minutes of DeMarcus Cousins going to the greatest team already. So now, Ricky, we are finally seeing a video game lineup of 5 All-Stars on one team.
The thing that I hate the most, there's 2 things that I hate the most. Is first off, in my just like casual everyday Facebook friends, which like Facebook friends is such a unique term anyways, because it's like, wow, I haven't talked to you since we had that one high school class together and you were a junior and I was a senior.
I haven't talked to you since never. I just added you because you're a person with mutual friends. Yeah.
In high school, there are people that I'm like, I hate being that guy, but I'm going to be that guy where it's like, oh, this is insane. Is the NBA season even watchable? And I'm looking at it going, you've never cared about the NBA. Why do you care now?
Here's the thing that is crazy. I saw more posts about DeMarcus Cousins than I did about LeBron James.
Exactly.
The player that is absolutely the best player in the NBA, LeBron James, moving to the biggest market for at least NBA. Sorry, New York, you're not that good, and you haven't won a championship since '73.
But that's because the Warriors are on. Well, no, the Warriors are at Chicago Bull level of popularity.
Over it. I mean, right now, but three championships in 4 years, and pretty much a fourth and a fifth.
What I'm saying is, the Bulls were global in the '90s. Yeah, Warriors are the same thing.
And it's just crazy that you're able to dominate like that on a deal that was worth 1 year, $5.3 million. Absolutely insane. And when I first saw it, it was from our patron Jake, who DM'd me on Twitter saying, league is fucked. And I don't know if the league is fucked or if it was already fucked. I mean, it's just kind of looking at like something that was broken. Like it was kind of like a cracked mirror, and now just the pieces of glass are falling out. And it comes down to the salary cap. And I know people are going to bring up the fact that DeMarcus Cousins apparently did not have contract offers when it came to Monday at 5 a.m., that he had no contract offers from any team, and pretty much his ideas were coming down to Boston and Golden State. But it comes down to DeMarcus Cousins, even though he's coming off that Achilles injuries, should not be able to take a $5.3 million contract. He is a multiple-time All-Star. He's a guy that averaged 25 points per game. He's a guy that is an all-NBA player. He should not be able to just sign for the mid-level exception for a guy that should be taking a contract like that in his prime. People are yelling at the Golden State Warriors that they ruin the NBA. No, they're just adding an all-NBA player at a cheap contract. You can't be upset at the Warriors. You can't be upset for Boogie because he's coming back. He wasn't getting contract offers. He's getting paid $5.3 million to win an NBA ring. What you need to be upset at is the NBA. You need to be upset at the league, is what I'm saying. You need to be upset at the Players Association. It all comes down to the way that contracts, the salary cap,
CBA.
and that the max is set up. It all boils down to that. It's a players' league, and I understand that people love players' leagues. I understand that players should be able to go wherever they want.
They don't like players' leagues until it doesn't agree with what they think.
But players should be able to go wherever they want and should be able to max out as much money as they possibly can be. But they should not be able to. I think the biggest thing that's hurting them is that now that people have put so much pressure on rings matter, that rings are so important, that is what's killing the league. And then it also comes down to the fact that players like DeMarcus Cousins, guys who are at this level, can take the mid-level exception. You should be able to at least be put into a bracket of what you're worth. And before we get into let's fix the salary cap, let's just talk about DeMarcus Cousins on this Warriors team because it's going to be interesting. It's definitely the best center they've had in a long time. But is DeMarcus Cousins in that lineup of Steph, Clay, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, and DeMarcus Cousins better than the death lineup of Iggy, Dre, Clay, KD, and Steph?
I'm not going to say that they're better. Like, it gives the Warriors something they have never truly had, and that is a dominant big man. And the thing that I found humorous was like Steph on Twitter after, the third Splash Brother, and like it was like Boogie shooting from the outside.
Okay, you saw the video.
Yeah. And the thing that I think of is, first off, with the Warriors, you can't be mad at Golden State. It's Michael Wilbon put it perfectly after it happened. He said, "What did you expect the Warriors just to sit back and go, nah, we good, brah. We just gonna sit here. We won some championships. Yeah, we could add a Boogie Cousins for about $5 million, but no, we don't need that. We'll let him go somewhere else." No, you'd be stupid to think that. To me, the thing that I think most about after this deal has really nothing to do with the Warriors. We know they're going to be a finals favorite. We know, after Boogie Cousins in Vegas, they're now minus 150, where you have to put down 150 just to win $100 if you bet on the Warriors.
That's honestly not that much.
To me, it was more than even before. It was even before the LeBron James signing.
Well, Lakers were like negative 5,000 favorites to sign LeBron.
Yeah, and they were even before LeBron signed, 110 after LeBron signed, now 150. To me, the team I think this hurts the most is the Houston Rockets, because you're sitting there going, we didn't get LeBron James. We brought back CP3 to a max contract, which many people, and I might be in that camp, of that might be too much for an injury guy. And now there's reports that Clint Capella might not be a Rocket next year.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that about hurting the team most, it just hurts the NBA in general, because now this just makes them fairly unbeatable, because now you're going to have flexibility to go either with Andre Iguodala in the death lineup, or you're going to be able to have DeMarcus Cousins. But also DeMarcus Cousins, you're going to be able to ease him into the lineup with this injury. And I know
he doesn't have to play many regular season minutes when he comes back.
And I know the one concern people have is just DeMarcus's attitude, DeMarcus's hustle on defense. But what are you going to do when you have this spacing and you're going to throw it into the low post? I mean, the Warriors post up a decent amount for a team that is known as the three-point shooting team.
Yeah.
They post up a decent amount. What are you going to do when you can't really collapse on DeMarcus Cousins, who is a dominant center who puts his ass into you and is just so physical and is a great passer? When you have Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time, outside, you have KD, who is one of the best, probably a top 5 scorer of all time. You have Klay Thompson, who is a top 5 3-point shooter in all time, and Draymond Green, who isn't a superb 3-point shooter, but he gets the job done, and especially when you're leaving him wide open. So what are you going to do with that offense? And even then, Boogie can shoot from the outside. Boogie can pass. Boogie fits into this offense. Offensively, you're not going to be able to stop them. I mean, it's practically just ridiculous what they're able to do. And, it goes into, you're talking about the Rockets giving Chris Paul the money he was worth, but they weren't going to give that money to DeMarcus Cousins.
Exactly.
They were going to be bringing back Chris Paul.
I've said on this podcast that DeMarcus, for this year, because of the injury, is not worth a max deal.
But he's not worth $5.3 million.
Because
he's not worth $5.3 million.
And that's the thing. I would argue that because it's only a 1-year deal. So it's, hey, for this year, since I'm probably not going to be out until after New Year's Eve, maybe even February, I am worth, this is what I am. You could make the argument that this is what DeMarcus Cousins is worth this year because of the injury. Then when he heals from it, you can go and try to get your max money.
He's not. I mean, Dante Exum just signed for $11 million a year. Come on. It's not what he's worth. I don't care, injury or not. He is worth the risk of at least $10 million to $15 million just for 1 year because of the player that he is. He's not worth $5.3 million. Injury or not, there is no way that DeMarcus Cousins, in the prime of his year, I know it's one of the worst injuries you can suffer for a big man who's out of shape, but it is DeMarcus Cousins. He's not worth $5.3 million. And what it really boils down to is I think it really comes into the factor that salary cap needs to get rid of, or the max contract needs to be getting rid of, because it kind of comes down to this isn't going to probably solve the Boogie problem, because this goes into at least injuries, and we can't really always come into account for that. But it's going to not make the Timothy Mozgov contract look horrible, the Noah contract look horrible, the Bismack Biyombo contract look horrible. You're not going to have that crazy cap spike. You're not going to have LeBron James only making $154 million, which is on par with Chandler Parsons' contract and Mike Conley's contract. Like Mike Conley and LeBron James are not equal. They should not be able to get the same max contract. That is what it boils down to. So the max needs to be getting rid of, and a team should be able to, I know it's not business smart, but they should be able to waste as much salary cap on a player as they want. You look at baseball, LeBron James is making $154 million in this 4 years. And I know it's not at least the same when it comes to yearly averages, but Jacoby Ellsbury, a guy who has not played, a guy who is not that great of a baseball player anymore, is making that same amount of money over a different amount of time. He's making $154 million on his contract with the Yankees. LeBron James is making $154 million. You need to get rid of the salary cap or get rid of the max.
I wouldn't get rid of the salary cap because one of the things in baseball that I've never liked is the fact of, maybe it's because I grew up in the 90s, but I hated the Yankees, not only because they won everything, but because it was a fact of you just have the biggest wallet. And like, yes, that's going to mean if you get rid of the salary cap then in the NBA, that means markets like LA, New York, Chicago are going to be up here.
But not
and
really, because
markets.
let's look at Oklahoma City. Their owner is worth like $7.9 billion. It really depends on the owner's budget and the owner's net worth. It doesn't really matter.
Owner's going to want to spend more money though,
but that's
for players.
that's on the
question.
owner. That's on the owner. It's not on the it's not about going down to what will they want to spend. It's how much are they able to spend, and then we'll at least weed out bad owners. It's going to weed out the disparity between teams. And
I wouldn't say it weeds out bad owners. It weeds out poor owners. Is basically what it weeds out.
All right, that's
fair.
fair.
If you don't have the money, you can't be.
But
an
also,
owner.
if you're not able to spend if you're not willing to spend that money, whether you have it or not, you're not going to be putting the team into, like, if you're not spending money on your team, then you're a bad owner. Like it's what it boils down to. Like guys that aren't going into the luxury tax to make their team and keep their players, they're a bad owner. I mean, maybe they might be fiscally smart, but like with your idea of big markets are able to win championships. The LA Dodgers have had the largest salary cap for, I think, the past 6 years in baseball. How many championships they got? 0. Yankees, they haven't won since 2009. The Astros, who just won, were built through the draft. They were built through the farm system. You can still win in different ways and different alternative ways.
I think
and
you
we've
can
seen
still
Colorado
do that,
have
though,
success. We've
while
seen the Chicago
having-
White Sox have success, even though they're not the big market teams. It's something that just boils down to good owners will rise to the top. Good GMs and smart business decisions will rise to the top. And if you give a guy, and you're even lending your way to Los Angeles, giving Timofey Mozgov a bad contract. I mean, they gave Timofey Mozgov 4 years, $72 million. They gave Luol Deng his horrible contract. Like, they will make bad decisions. Even though they have large caps and large wallets, it still goes to the fact that you can still make bad decisions. But you need to open that up where LeBron James isn't making the same as Mike Conley. He should be able to take as much money as possible. And that now also goes down to players taking less money to go to super teams. DeMarcus Cousins, if he waited out a little bit, maybe he would have been able to take more money and get more money. But even then, with the way that the salary cap was out there, with that whole cap spike that we saw, 2 years ago, there wasn't a lot of money out there in general. And then his team started panicking because the only deals that were out there were either from New Orleans, who was able to, I think, go into luxury tax because of his bird rights, but they just signed Julius Randle. So there wasn't enough money out there for DeMarcus Cousins, and that is something because of the salary cap and because of the way the NBA players set up the ability to let the cap just spike like we saw. And not be a smooth, gradual incline that the NBA wanted. That's why players like DeMarcus Cousins got fucked and ruined the NBA.
See, I don't think and here's a thought I'm just thought of, and first off, I don't think ruin the NBA. Like, it all becomes like Dave and I talked about this on Too Good to Game when we talked about the Google system. It's when you've got a team like the Warriors that have done what they do, it forces other teams to adapt or die, basically. And it's like, you know what? This is the NBA that we live in now. This is what, and your team either needs, like, I'm a Bulls fan, and I'm looking at the Bulls going, I'm not going to see the playoffs anytime soon because my ownership is not going to do what any other team, building through the draft, then keeping those guys while trying to add big free agents. The thing I want to get at, though, is DeMarcus Cousins. What if this was a move? Let's say Boston and Golden State were the two teams. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things that people like to characterize DeMarcus Cousins for is that he's a bad teammate. He's a bad teammate. He's a bad locker room presence. So both the Celtics and the Warriors have great locker rooms. However, what does Golden State have that Boston doesn't? The chance to win a championship higher than Boston. So that's ultimately the reason why he chose each. But why he was in the discussion with both of those teams, what if this was just a deal for DeMarcus? Hey, one of the big things that people like to characterize me for is that I'm a bad teammate. I'm going to join a team like Golden State. Great chemistry, not cause a problem, change that narrative for when next year I hit free agency healthy.
I'm not trying to bash DeMarcus Cousins anyway. This is the smartest move for his career with what the options were. The smartest move that he could have done was take as much money as possible, but the money wasn't coming. He didn't have the option to take as much money as he possibly could have. He waited too long. The money ran out. He wasn't able to get a big contract. It was simple. So he took the smartest move, which was the 1 year, prove that you're healthy, win a championship, and it's going to help your resume. It's going to, at least give you that success and that feeling of being a champion. And then you go out and hit the market next year. I mean, for DeMarcus Cousins, there wasn't a bad move to make, at least deciding between the Warriors and Boston. Maybe now with the Warriors, you have a higher chance of getting gold, and I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. But are you shocked that there weren't contracts out there for DeMarcus Cousins? Like it was reported, it said Monday, there wasn't any, Monday at 5 a.m., there were no contracts offered to DeMarcus Cousins. And then he started deciding between the Warriors and Boston. Were you shocked to hear that there were no contracts out there? There were meetings set up, I think, with Los Angeles and New Orleans, but there were no contracts set up between DeMarcus Cousins and any teams.
Not at all, because both the Pelicans, I would say the Pelicans and even the Lakers are on different timelines than Boston and even Golden State, where the Lakers, look at the moves that they're making. They signed LeBron to a 4-year deal, which this is the first time since that Miami deal he's taken more than a 1-1. Like with Cleveland, he never gave them more than a 1-1.
He just signed a 3-year deal.
His
last one was 3 years, $100 million.
No, I thought it was he had a 1-1 and then a 2-1. But the 2-1 was his longest, and he didn't even do the last year because this would have been the last year. The longest that he's had is at 6 in Miami. New Orleans, too, they're not a team that's on a kind of timeline to, yes, win the finals this year. Golden State is. Boston is. And like I said, when we talked about him with the Mavericks, he's not worth max money, especially this year with the injury. So I'm not surprised that a team wasn't going to go out there and say, here's a max contract, whereas a team like the Warriors or even the Celtics could offer him less, and he can take as much time as he needs to get his injury right, because either one of those two teams are going to make the playoffs.
I understand that he might not have been worth the max, but even then, he's worth more than $5.3 million.
To a team, so I don't think so because of the injury.
But Ricky, I mean, come on. Is he worth $5.3 million?
At least, yeah. I'm not going to say, he's not
Cousins
worth.
is an all-pro. He's a consistent all-star, putting up 25 and 13.
What I'm saying is I'm not saying oh, man, the Warriors got swindled on this deal, man. I could have got him for 3. I'm not saying that. This was the lowest he could have taken. Yeah, I know. And I'm looking at it to where it's, really.
He's worth at least double millions. He's worth at least 10 to 15 mil.
I think it's because you're looking at it of what the player he is if he was going to start game 1. I don't think he starts game 1. I don't think he plays until February.
Ricky, if I was telling you you were getting 50 games of DeMarcus Cousins at 90% of what he was, because again, he's probably not going to be 100%, and I'm not denying that. It usually takes more than what the required time is to recover from his injury. But even then, this is a guy that can do everything that you want in a modern center. He can play decent enough defense when he's trying. He can shoot from the outside. He's a great passer. The biggest knock on him is his locker room presence. But he is a guy that can still help a team. He is one of the best, if not the best center when healthy in the league. He's at least top 3. This is a guy when healthy, he's a top 3 center. He is not worth $5.3 million unless he has one fucking leg.
For this year, I say yes. Maybe a little above, but you look at the team, it would depend on what team I am, because the only teams that I would be interested in signing DeMarcus Cousins this season.
The Bulls give him a $10 million contract. You pissed?
Yeah, I'm pissed because
Why?
We're not going to the playoffs. Why give him the money?
It's for a 1-year deal for $10 million. He's an upgrade over Robin Lopez.
I don't give a crap. That's just going to stunt our growth. And
who's growing at the center position?
I would rather bring in other players like a Sean Kilpatrick for a year, and at least then I know I'm tanking, than giving him a big contract for 1 year. There's only 4 teams in my mind that he could have signed with this year.
Real quick, I'm just going to say, this is without the cap restrictions that they've had. This is just teams that he would have fit on.
Well, and this is and I'm going to go into that, where first off, I'll throw out the 76ers. However, would he be a really good fit there? No, they're going to move on.
But then, even with that, I mean, with the 76ers, you're talking with cap. Okay.
Yeah. Then you got the Houston Rockets. Man, he would fit right in for that Clint Capella hole. Oh, great. We just gave Chris Paul a max contract. We don't got the money for it. Other than that, besides the Warriors and the Celtics, there is no team that he signs with that pushes them over the level in the playoffs.
Take the cap out.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at just the Houston Rockets, okay?
If there's no cap, if he signs with the Rockets, not max money, but close to.
Okay, but let's take out the cap.
Yeah.
Let's look at his injury then. Let's just say DeMarcus Cousins, he is coming off an Achilles injury. This is the player in his prime, and with his injury, and again, take out all the cap stuff.
Yeah.
He's worth $5.3 million in your mind?
Not without,
the Bulls give him a $10 million contract for 1 year?
No.
You're upset with that?
Yeah, I would be upset with the Bulls because we don't fucking need them. But without a salary cap, that changes things because then I think he could sign with the Rockets for more money if there's no cap. But at the same time, if there's no cap, do they just offer Clint Capella more money because he's not injured?
But even then, there's 29 other teams. DeMarcus Cousins is an all-pro, all-NBA player, and he's only getting $5.3 million. There's something wrong with that, is what I'm trying to say.
Without a salary cap, he gets more money. But the reality is we have a salary cap, and with the salary cap, there were 4 teams that I could see him being the one.
I'm not disagreeing with that. Again,
being the one to push them over.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I understand. That's the way that the NBA put themselves. But the Players Association and the NBA, with all the bad contracts.
I'm going to say LeBron and CP3 because they're the head of the Players Association.
So the Players Association, because LeBron and CP3 are there, and the NBA, they screwed themselves over. And with the bad decisions with the owners, giving guys like Mozgov, Noah, good old Bismack Biyombo, bad contracts, put them in cap hell. Are you telling me, even though they have 19 fucking centers right now, the Orlando Magic wouldn't have given DeMarcus Cousins $10 million coming off this injury? To just play on their team?
They probably would have, but if I'm DeMarcus Cousins, why would I do that? Just to sit at the bottom of the East.
Okay, but still, I understand with the fact that he's getting. I'm not bashing DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus Cousins is getting paid $5.3 million to come back.
The worth in my mind doesn't come from the type of player he can be when healthy. It comes down to how many games. Get it on a very basic math level of. Yeah, it's probably more than 5 million, but with how many games he's probably going to play.
December or January is when he comes back.
I would say more towards January, February is what I'm thinking.
Doctors have said early December to January, so I'm going to trust those guys more than you.
Doctors are one thing, but nowadays on the Warriors, I don't think he comes back before late January, late January in my mind. It comes down to a pennies per game kind of situation of all right, how much money do we basically want to pay you per game of how many games are we going to get you for this season? And with the Magic, it would be a lot less games than the Warriors would have.
And I just threw that team out there. I threw them out there for some reason.
Name any team that's not in the playoffs. It would be way less games than the Warriors will have.
And let's pick it up at LeBron James where he was in mid-January. Right now, that would mean he's playing. That's going to the playoffs. I screwed up on Basketball Reference. My bad. If he played from, let's say, January 20th to the end of the season, he's playing 38 games. He's worth more than $5.3 million, plus the playoffs that he's going to be in, than $5.3 million for playing 38 games. DeMarcus Cousins, the fact that he's able to take that low of a contract is ridiculous. Injury or not, because he's going to come back, and when he's healthy, he's at least going to be a fairly efficient player. He's going to fit in that Golden State offense, and it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. And no team's going to be able to stop them. They're going to win another championship. It's going to be 4 and 5 years, and that's with injuries. Because even if you lose Steph, if you lose Clay, if you lose KD, if you lose Draymond, you still have 4 other All-Stars on that team. You still have guys that are unstoppable at their best. You still have a guy in Klay Thompson who could drop 39 in 3 quarters in a playoff game. You still have Steph Curry, who is a 2-time MVP and the best shooter in the league. You have Draymond Green, who is the guy in the NBA, in all the NBA right now, that can put up a 5x5. He is the closest thing we have to putting up a 5x5. And you have DeMarcus Cousins, who is in every single right for the past couple seasons, a 25 and 13 player. Now he's not going to be able to do that because he's not going to have the same amount of usage as he has had in Sacramento and New Orleans. But even then, I'm not even mentioning KD. KD is one of the best scorers we've ever seen in this game. So you have 5 guys that at their peak are unstoppable.
This is
if they
just
are all
classic
unstoppable
business.
at the same time in those last 16 games, they're not losing a game in the playoffs, and they're probably going to win 70 games. Even if those guys all play around 60 games this season.
This is just classic business, though, because it's your. I think you're sitting. Wait. I think you're sitting there going, "This is what he's worth," and it's like, okay, this is what he's worth as a base level, but in the situation that we are in, I would say any team besides Golden State, Boston, Philly, and Houston. If you're not one of those 4 teams, adding DeMarcus Cousins to your roster does not get you into the finals or wins you the finals.
No, but
and then
still,
based on
even
where
on that
we're at
fact,
with the money,
he can still help your team even if it's for $10 million. Like
I
know
debate
DeMarcus Cousins still has his choice of where he wants to go in the end. I'm not saying that he doesn't. But even then, if you are, let's say, the Clippers, they just lost to center. DeMarcus Cousins for $10 million on your team will improve it. Will take your team from winning 38 games to taking them to win 42 games because DeMarcus Cousins can help your team.
But why would I
DeMarcus Cousins
want...
can help any NBA team.
Well, first off, if I'm a non-playoff team, where like the Bulls,
Ricky,
I'm not gonna wait.
This isn't about winning a championship. DeMarcus Cousins is not going to help any other team win a championship because DeMarcus Cousins on any other team. Let me finish.
Linda, listen.
Okay, the Rockets adding DeMarcus Cousins, they're not beating the Warriors. The Lakers adding DeMarcus Cousins, they're not beating the Warriors. No team is beating the Warriors with DeMarcus Cousins. But DeMarcus Cousins shouldn't be able to take a $5.3 million contract. That's all it is. DeMarcus Cousins is worth more than that. And that's fucked up because the NBA Players Association, it's fucked up by the NBA. And DeMarcus Cousins, again, should be able to do whatever he wants. But and he's not stupid for going to the Warriors at all. But something needs to happen with the NBA. I'm sorry for cutting you off. I am.
Well,
but it's just
the point I was going to make had nothing to do with winning a championship. I look at the Bulls. Bulls are not going to make the playoffs next year. Why in God's green earth would I sign a DeMarcus Cousins, win more games, and then hurt my draft stock?
Then back away. And let's talk about the Clippers, a team that probably wants to make the playoffs. Let's talk about the Denver Nuggets, even though they have Jokic and Paul Millsap. Any team would be stupid not to add him. And every team is probably like, oh, we could have got him for $5.3 million. Huh. Wonder if he would have taken 10 to play for our team. Let's look at the, Portland Trailblazers. They have Nurkic, but Nurkic isn't signed right now.
I just don't know if anyone was thinking that. Everyone was probably just thinking the max.
They weren't giving him a contract. And they weren't thinking max. But from what I've heard is it was, the Pelicans, their idea of what they were going to offer him was 1 year, $15 million, which is very fair. But they went against that. They thought that Julius Randle would have been a better addition because of the way that they played without DeMarcus Cousins. But still, a player like this and his talent isn't worth $5.3 million, and this is why people are overreacting on Facebook. This is why people are overreacting on Instagram. This is why people are overreacting saying the NBA is dead, because DeMarcus Cousins is worth more than $5.3 million, and it should be more for the Golden State Warriors to go out and get DeMarcus Cousins, a player of his caliber, to go out and get him for $5.3 million.
Let me just put it this way. The reason why everyone's saying, oh, the sky is falling, the NBA is dead, because how we work as a people is we work in absolutes. It is today and nothing else. The future doesn't matter. Let me just put a little bit of, and Warrior fans, you're not going to want to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyways. The Warriors aren't going to last forever. The Bulls didn't last forever. Next year could be the first dominoes we see fall in that. Next year could be another one, depending on Klay and Draymond. And DeMarcus Cousins won't be there next year.
Okay.
And eventually a day will come when Kevin Durant leaves the Warriors. Here's what I'm saying. Next 2 years, Durant wins this year, Durant wins next year. He leaves because he doesn't have to win a championship because he has more than LeBron.
Okay. But Ricky, if they win the next 2 years, what does that mean?
It means for the next two, like.
Well, no. What does it mean if they have 5 championships in 6 years?
It means they're a really dominant team.
It doesn't matter what happens in the future because you did what no NBA team has done since the Boston Celtics. And you've done probably the most impressive thing in the salary cap era, which is win 5 championships in 6 years. With the stars that we have right now, possibly the most talented NBA that we've ever had, you have dominated and won 5 championships in 6 years. Something that has not been happening in decades. And this is with the salary cap, and this is with all the restrictions. This is with free agency. You just pulled off what seems impossible. It doesn't matter that the future is nigh. It doesn't matter that Steph is probably gone, KD's gone, DeMarcus Cousins is gone. Bob Myers and his ownership group and the Golden State Warriors did something unthinkable, and it is worth it for Golden State fans because you won 5 in 6 years, and you were the most dominant dynasty in all of NBA history.
Let me put it this way.
In my mind.
And for everyone who's like, oh, the NBA isn't even competitive, and the Warriors are just going to the championships again. Boston, LA, Golden State, Chicago, San Antonio, Philadelphia, Detroit, Miami, New York, Houston, Cleveland, Atlanta, and then the Wizards, the Thunder, well, with the Supersonics.
You're just naming every team.
It has won. The Trailblazers, the Bucks, the Mavericks, and then the Bullets who folded. And there are not many teams that have won. And let's be honest.
Okay,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of the teams to win a championship only won 1. When you look at the top 5 teams to win championship, like what's your point? There are dynasties every year. We are living through the next dynasty. This one will fall, the next one will come, and we'll complain about them too.
Yes, but the fact is that teams can follow this model, and they can just do this more often. Now players are seeing that, if it's all it takes is to win a ring, and that's what people are going to see as, the next biggest thing, then that's it's probably a phase. But what you don't want is people to not watch your product, because one down year is going to hurt the players. Because one down year of the finals ratings tanking because LeBron's not in the finals because the Warriors bounced him and they're going up against the Celtics or Philly, maybe that's going to draw a little more intrigue. But if the Warriors win in 4 games, then okay, let's look at what the Warriors did in the past 3 years. They went 12-1 in the finals. Guess what? The Warriors are a pretty fucking impressive team. And again, I'm just talking about the fact that what the Warriors have done, if they do win 5 in 6 years, it's the most impressive dynasty we've ever seen because, you look at Bill Russell and what he's done, with the Boston Celtics. That was in a 8-team NBA? Like that, it's completely different than doing it in a 30-team NBA with the salary cap, with the luxury tax, with free agency being a players' league. You are able to win the most impressive way. And yes, I know people some say it's kind of shaky because KD's a snake and he went to the Warriors and DeMarcus Cousins took a cheap deal, but it's something that shouldn't be able to happen, and it's turning off fans. And you can't say it happens all the time. Well, it's impressive when it happens the right way. It was impressive with Jordan and Pippen because you drafted both of those players, and also there was that break in the middle where Jordan left.
Went to play baseball.
Yeah, everyone knows that Michael Jordan played baseball. Just watch Space Jam.
Yeah.
But again, it gave that break, and it gave that reemergence of, oh wow, Jordan's back. It kicked on those lights again. And then he left. And with the Lakers, that was fun because the Lakers were back. Kobe and Shaq were a fun duo, but then they broke down and melted because of the egos. We have not seen the egos of the Golden State fall and kill them yet. And maybe it will happen at some point. But right now, this is the most impressive dynasty we have ever seen. And it looks like there is no stop because if DeMarcus Cousins leaves, well, what if another player just wants to join him? And what if another center wants to just take the mid-level exception and help this Warriors team win? What if, Kevin Durant leaves, but what if another superstar just comes on and wants to join them? They can just keep it going. I'm not saying it's going to happen because it's highly unlikely, but it can happen. There is still the possibility of them keeping this train rolling.
You can't have both. And when I say that, I mean there were so many people that when the new CBA was announced, oh, yes, I love it. And I'm a guy that loves player mobility. I love the players having the choice because they should have the choice of where they want to play, where they want to go. But you can't have both. You can't have player mobility and it being a players' league, but then tell a player, no, this is what your worth is. You can't take this contract. It's either one or the other. What do you want to go back to? Do you
Are you
want to
talking
go
about the
back?
max?
Well, the max are just in general of I love how people are like, oh man, they came up with this rule where a team could offer more money if they stay with them. I would be interested to do the research. Someone can do it if they want to. How many guys since then have been like, yeah, I'll cash in and stay here? Or how many guys have said, no, I want to play over here?
And that's the thing is, what's the difference between these guys between, $30 million? Because if you get a ring, then, okay, I'll take that pay cut. That's why I think you got to get rid of the salary cap or get rid of the max, because you need to be able to feel like guys are massively worth something.
I would say getting rid of the max is better because, look at Houston. They basically handcuffed themselves by offering a max to Chris Paul, who's a great player, but who's old and gets injured.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you need to be able to really intrigue these players. You need to be able to at least change their lives in the fact of, and maybe you're going to see more bad contracts, but if LeBron James is out there, Cleveland offers them 60% of their salary cap, and no other team does that, because you need to be able to just at least be able to drive up that competition between free agents. Because really, it's just the difference between a year of, one more year of, at least if we're talking max, and not a lot of players even take max nowadays. It's just really those older guys that want those 4 years. But looking at least the differences between a 5-year, $235 million contract to a 4-year, $147 million contract, it's not that much different if you were going to a better situation for these players. So I think you need to be able.
What about killing the player op or the team op? Because in baseball we see it work to where they have player ops and club ops. We see it in hockey; they have both. But football, we don't have player options or club options in football.
Well, they kind of do with the outs.
Well, kind of, but that's not the player deciding, hey, I want to out. It's the team saying, hey, we're going to negotiate this in there in case you get too old.
I don't think we should be looking at the NFL because they don't even guarantee contracts.
Exactly.
I think we should be looking at the MLB because let's be honest, the NBA is in a better financial situation than the MLB is.
Yeah.
They can get rid of the salary cap and offer more players. Because even then, you look at an MLB team, they have 25 guys they need to field. Where in the NBA, it's 13. So you need to be able to at least either get rid of the salary cap and be able to be like, all right, hey, DeMarcus, you can go to, if you really want a player, you can go to Golden State for $5.3 million, or we will give you $200 million we can give you $200 million.
Turned off your mic there.
Yeah, I did. We'll give you $200 million for the next 4 years. I mean, it might not be, again, it might be a dumb contract, but if you want a player, you should be able to at least change their mind with money. And again, it's a players' league in the sense of, hey, I can still have the choice in going to Golden State and winning a ring, but I can also take the financial choice. I think you need to be able to at least be able to, really impress these guys with salary numbers rather than just, relying on the fact of, pitching them your city, because it really doesn't work. And whatever intrigues them the most, these players in winning a ring, like LeBron with Miami, like DeMarcus Cousins with Golden State, like KD in Golden State, that's what's going to draw their attention, because money isn't that much of a difference when you get down to it. And these guys have advertisements that are going to make up for that money that they lost.
The last thing that I'll say is I find it funny that no matter what the sport, the thing we always say is, oh, the ultimate goal is to win a championship. And then we're ragging on DeMarcus Cousins and the Warriors in some sense for making a deal like this when who gives a crap?
I haven't seen the anger be towards the Warriors or DeMarcus Cousins. I've seen the anger just be at the NBA.
Yeah, exactly. Or that too, to where
at Adam Silver, you need to step in and do something.
If we say the ultimate goal is to win a championship, that's for every team we say that, but that's a goal for players as well. So why should we get mad at the system, mad at DeMarcus Cousins for wanting to take less to win a championship when this could be the only time in his career he gets a chance to win one?
Yeah, and I think it's the best chance. I mean, he's not going to be on a better team
because he's not coming back to Golden State after this year.
I just think the system's broken. That's all it is. I think the system's completely fucked. So I think the system needs to be changed. Anyways, we talked for about 40 minutes on that. I am ready to go to bed after doing the onside kick as well. Didn't do housekeeping. If you want to help support us, check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. You can be on a podcast at the $10 tier. We also got some great stuff below that as well. If you want to buy an MVP shirt, check out mostvaluablepodcast.com. You can check out all the podcasts and all of the segments we post on there, and go to the store and buy an MVP shirt. And then give us 5 stars on iTunes if you feel gracious, if you feel nice, if you want to help us out. That will support us big time. And then finally, Ricky,
You said the website, you said Patreon, you said the store, you said Apple Podcast.
Cool. Have a great day, guys. For Ricky Widmer, I'm Sean Anderson. Sorry if this was a complaint fest, but it's just something where, again, you gotta
Sometimes
talk
you just
it out.
need to vent, man.
Yeah,
Like,
this is
when you asked me
this
that
is our
Bulls,
therapy session, Ricky.
think about it, and this is going to be my little
a
extension
free
to
therapy
the end.
session.
Think about how heated I got when you asked me about the Bulls. I have had pent up frustration about the Bulls that I have not been able to get out because we had the Outcasts, so with no reason to talk about them here at the time. And it was good just to get that out a little bit, get that frustration out.
I mean, you want to just let it out now, or you want to end the
No,
podcast?
I already did.
All right. For Ricky Widmer, I'm Sean Anderson. I'm looking at a camera that's already off. We'll see you next time.